All right, thank you so oh, there you go. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure presenting for VACP. Today, we're going to talk about using technology tools to maximize profits. And as I say, it's just simply doing more with less. And oh, okay, let me get here. I'm all right. Okay, I'm Shelby, and I'm the managing partner of InUrban Strategies. I'm sure many of you have come to some of my webinars, and I thank you for coming back. And for those of you who are first-time attendees, I hope that you walk away with some uh, viable tools to help you increase your efficiency in your business today. And so, my organization is a consulting firm, and we have four key areas of operations. One is operational planning. We do program development delivery. We help businesses with access to capital, and we also provide back office support as one of our newer offerings. And just to give you some background on some of the work that we have done and we continue to do, one of some of our key clients and projects. One is supply chain localization with Rush University Medical Center, where we help connect small businesses on the west side to procurement opportunities at Rush. We've been doing that for a little over 6 years now. We do operations consulting for Green Metals Foods, which is a beef jerky manufacturing company. We've did some program design and development for an organization called Jump Hire, which is workforce development. And then we also work with a nonprofit organization that we actually run now. It's called the Good Food Catalyst. And we started with them with program development, delivery, and operations planning. And somehow we ended up now running the organization. But it's a good cause, and I'm happy to be a part of it. All right, so I always start my talks with a burning question, and today I kind of turn the question back on myself, and because a lot of times people ask me this question is like, how can one person do all the things you do? And I was like, well, part of it is you have to really operate from a position of efficiency, and when you really think about it, and I'm sure most of you are smaller businesses and you are trying to wear a lot of hats. And I've worn and continue to wear all these hats at all the time. And it's really important that a business owner understands that they have to wear these hats. Being CEO, being the chief salesperson, and also trying to manage people at the same time. Do the work, go out and get customers and market the business, and then try to keep track of all the finances. And so my question is, how many hats can you really wear? And as a business owner, the more overwhelmed you get, the more difficult it is to be successful in your business. And I know that firsthand. So I know what it ends up it leads to, and it really leads to a very, very frustrated business owner. And when you're frustrated, it makes it very, very difficult to be successful in business. I even tell most business owners, and I think it's true of all of us should do, is also spend some time away from the business. I have a practice that on Saturdays, I do not work at all. I shut down everything. I don't answer emails. I don't even think about the business. And I have a lot of things to do, but that one day allows me the opportunity to kind of relieve those frustrations. And also, a business owner should take a vacation every now and then, just because you need to relieve those frustrations. Many times we think that we're supposed to be on the grind all the time and hustling, and that is not really good. It just leads to a lot of frustration and a lot of inefficiencies. So that's where I get to my mantra is that we all should think about working smarter and not harder. And, just something really simple. And I put up a clock because we know the clock represents time. And then we know, secondly, that time is money, right? And so the more time we spend on something, the less money we can make. And so what I like to do is look at it and how do I become more efficient in terms of utilizing my time or utilizing someone else's time to grow my business and to accomplish all the things that I want to do. And so, what is my secret? So I look at it, technology, incorporating it into a lot of the things that I do. Sometimes it's sophisticated technology, and sometimes it's really simple technology. But it starts with people. How do I use my people, the people that I have, and incorporate technology into the work that they do and in some instances use technology to not have as many people. And that, that's a good thing too, because right now, and we're experiencing a workforce shortage. And so it's like, how do you get the work done with fewer people available? It's not even a matter of like, uh, we have positions open. We just can't find the right people to fill those positions. Financial, using technology to manage your finances is really, really critical. And to me, that is like the most important one, because if you don't have a handle on the finances of your business, then it's really difficult to succeed in business. And I find that most business owners do not have the handle on their finances. Processes, if you're in the manufacturing side of things, having using technology to streamline processes, whether it's operations or whether it's manufacturing, you need to be able to streamline processes. And then get down to marketing as well, and create brand recognition for your business and for your organization. It could be this could be a small business, it could be a nonprofit organization. A lot of these concepts that I'm presenting are very relevant. Even I say to people in your personal lives, which is important too, because you need to have your personal lives together if you want to be successful in business. But also think about incorporating technology into your personal lives, and I do that as well. So, what are some of the benefits of using technology? So, we're going to just go quickly through the benefits, and now I want to get into more detail as to what and some illustrations in terms of the benefits of using technology. But as I stated, the first one really is to think about more efficiency and productivity, because time is money. And so if we can operate more efficiently, we don't need as many people. We can get things done quicker. And the quicker we get things done, we can probably bring on more business, or we can be more profitable. Communication and collaboration, talk about that a little bit too, but really think about it like now in this era of work from home and Zoom, we're able to have more meetings. That could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing, but we find ourselves not traveling all over the city in rush hour traffic to make a meeting that's 30 minutes and then travel another hour to the next meeting. So communication is really, really critical. Increased reach and market expansion. Data management, which especially if you're like a nonprofit organization or you're a business that relies highly on data, that's really important. And I'll show you some simple tools later on in the presentation on how you can manage data with some very simple technology tools. Customer engagement and experience, innovation and adaptability, which is really crucial too. We notice that in this world, a lot of things are always changing, and we have to change with those. And then being able to incorporate and think about technology and how we make those changes are very important. Cost savings, that to me, if you're running a business and you're trying to be profitable, that is one of the key things. Security and risk management, we won't talk about that a lot, but it's always nice to think about that as you incorporate technology. And I think the simplest thing is, not answering emails that you don't know where they come from, because usually it's something, someone is trying to scam you out of something. And taking it even further in terms of if your business is heavily reliant on data, that you really need to think about security and risk management. Marketing and branding is crucial. Supply chain management, I do a lot of work in supply chain, and that is just being able to know what's where, when, how, and when you're running out of stuff is really crucial. Regulatory compliance, if your business is on that, like the green metals foods that we do the operations plan for, is regulated by the USDA. Really strong records have to be kept, and we utilize a lot of technology tools in terms of making sure those records are kept and safeguarded. And then customer feedback, and because we always want to think about more continuous improvement in our business models, and the more we improve in those business models, the more successful that we can become in our businesses. All right, so a lot of times though, and this talk, I really wanted to gear it towards more of the small business owners, and understanding that there are a lot of you guys out there here in the Chicago area, and many of them I've worked with. But one of the things that I see when people start thinking about technology, it can be very intimidating and complex. And so I use my 93-year-old mother as an example. She's always been intimidated by technology. And I just like bought her an iPad, and I just started making her use technology. And now she has a she loves YouTube. She surfs on Facebook, and so it's one of those things where as she just started using it, she realizes that technology isn't that difficult, and it actually can be very simple. Cost concerns. A lot of times, integrating more technology tools can cost money, but you also have to do a cost benefit analysis. And once again, you get down to that slide that I presented earlier, time is money. And so if it says that it's worth it, then do it. If it's not, then don't, or find another way. A lot of times there's a learning curve for technology, and sometimes we have to pay people to teach us, and that is, and a lot of small business owners don't want to spend those type of dollars in terms of investing and learning, but usually those are dollars well spent. Security apprehensions. A lot of times, we don't know what's going on in technology, what data this technology is tracking us on. And so those are some of the issues that, we have to think about. How do we overcome those, and how do we feel safe that secure that our data is safe, and that the apps or technology that we're using are not as intrusive as we would not want them to be. And then there is always fear of employee resistance. And this is why, for me, has been one of the biggest ones as I try to implement more technology, especially Salesforce, because a lot of people were like, oh man, this is going to be complex. I have to sit down and start entering data. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of like you have to start doing your job, which is like important, because tracking things for like funders, we work with a lot of foundations and funders, and we have to track things, and Salesforce is one easy way to do it. But some of it is employees will have resistance to not only just new technology, but implementing anything that's new, that they're not accustomed to. So sometimes it's more of like an easy ramp into it. And once again, maybe investing some time for them to get some training on that, to make it a lot easier to incorporate this technology into their everyday work lives. And so now we'll just kind of get into the meat and potatoes of all of it. So I want to give you some simple steps to incorporate technology into your business. And throughout this presentation, I encourage you to keep it simple. That is really, to me, the most important part of it. Sometimes when I work with people, they want to go all the way to like the most technologically complex ways of doing things, when really taking some simple steps and then just incorporating those, and then taking some more simple steps and incorporating those, tend to be a much better approach to how you would want to incorporate technology into your business. All right. So first of all, and I tell people I've been like super guilty of this years ago, in terms of creating an online presence. And so the first thing is you want to create a professional website. And years ago when I started the organization, it took us about 3 years, 2 to 3 years, to actually get a website. And one of it is because most of our business was word of mouth, and we really didn't need a website. But at some point, as I'm telling people like, yeah, you need to have a website, and then I didn't have one. I thought it was important that at least we put up a simple website. But then I started finding out that people actually want to go to that website, and they want to look, and they're looking for information. And so ours is not, it's not a more of a marketing website, but it's more an informational website. But one of the things that is really important, and I encourage everybody to have a professional website. You want to be able to increase visibility and access to your business. And for these days, like it or not, websites really help you establish the credibility and trust among those who may be interested in doing business with you. So they may start doing some research on you. And one of the first things they'll do is go to your website, and then start looking at some of your social media pages. You want to use it to increase your customer engagement and conversion. So if you have a website where you're trying to sell, that's even more important. That is a very professional website, because you want it to be very user friendly. And then you want to establish some online visibility with some simple search engine optimization techniques. And that can be very simple, and that can get very sophisticated as well. But it also can get very costly as you're trying to really get out there and try to increase your visibility with search engine optimization. So then the next thing in terms of just, and I talked about this, as we talked about the website, is that you really want to leverage your social media channels. And you start by choosing the right platforms. Where are your customers hanging out at? And that makes it a lot easier. Back in the day, we didn't, like in the 80s and the 90s, there wasn't the availability of social media platforms, and people had to get out and pound the pavement in order to get in front of customers and to be able to get their brand out. Now, social media is really a cheap and easy and many times effective way to build a brand. And it's really important that the content strategy resonates with your audience. And one of the most important ones is really making sure that you engage and interact with your audience. And some of the things that I suggest that people do is, highlight some of your customers, highlight some of the people you're working with, ask questions that people want to talk about. So you really think about, what are people talking about? The questions don't necessarily have to be controversial, but they should be questions that will stimulate conversation. Encourage your own audience to create and share content, because and that's one of the things we did with one of the programs we work with. We found other social media influencers who they have great audiences. We invited them to come speak, and in the process they are going to encourage their audience to like come listen to them speak and share their content. And so for very little effort, we ended up reaching like 10,000 people, and it didn't cost us anything. So there's some really simple and cost-effective ways you can do that. And of course, people love the live videos and they love stories. And I always tell people too, as I teach presenting, is that you should have like a pocket full of stories to tell, because people love stories when you are either presenting, but also videos. Keep the videos pretty short because our attention spans aren't long. And yeah, you will really improve and leverage their social media to help you operate more efficiently and get more business. And then the collaboration tools. So a lot of these tools we currently use or have used in our organization or some of the organizations that we work with. Slack is one. It's real-time messaging and file sharing. It's a good way to like really text message people without having their personal phone numbers, which I really hate giving out. But it also, you can put it into groups and have in only the group we're here to chats, as opposed to, I know a lot of us get thrown into these even big text message streams where we're not even it's not really important to us, and we have to listen to everybody else or read everybody else's conversation. But it is quick and efficient communication, which is really important if you are trying to operate much more efficiently. Microsoft Teams. This is one I love to hate. It is becoming very popular. It's one that a lot of our clients use, and so we have to use it as well. Once again, I prefer not to use it, but there are some really great benefits to it. And the first one to me, and I will say for me, the only one, is the seamless integration with Microsoft Office tools. And that to me is just one of the biggest benefits of Teams. Outside of that, I could really look for other ways of communicating with folks. Then there's Trello, which is project management. We use Trello a lot with many of our projects. It makes it so much easier. I have a lot of things going on, so having these different Trello boards really help me understand what I have to get done for those days. And even my team, knowing how busy I am, they also put in some of my tasks is to take a break. And so as part of that, as part of the business owner, as I mentioned earlier, taking a break is important. And so my team, as they put together my Trello board, they make sure they put in time. It's like, your task at 12 o'clock is to have lunch. Your task at 2 o'clock is take a step back and just like relax for a few minutes. And that really helps a lot. So it's when you really think about how you integrate the work that you're doing in business it also you should also look at how you can integrate your personal lives into that as well. And then Google Workspace is one that a lot of people really love. I'm a little ambivalent on Google as well, but once again, as we work with different clients, we have to understand and utilize these different collaboration tools. And so they all have their pluses and minuses. So what it really boils down to is that you find the one that works the best for your business, one that doesn't, is more cost effective for your business, and then use that way as a balance, and then select the tool or tools that work best for you. Zoom. Now, Zoom is my absolute favorite. I started using Zoom a couple of years before the pandemic. And for me, Zoom has been like the most reliable and reliable for me virtual meeting platform. As a matter of fact, there are many times when we have to sit on a Microsoft Teams meeting, and we have to shut that meeting down and head over to Zoom because Teams is always having these little quirks and things like that. So, to me, Zoom is very reliable. Screen sharing is really, really easy, and it seems like every month they're upgrading it to add newer and newer features. Where it works to me, it's almost working just as well as Microsoft Teams without having all the say the Microsoft products attached to it. But it's real easy to share a PowerPoint presentation, like it was almost built for PowerPoint. And then Asana, one of our customers, they use it for project management as well. And it's very similar to Trello. Once again, it's one of the things, it's about what's more user friendly for you and what's easier for you to integrate into your business. And if you have customers or clients and you're using these tools with them, to make sure that they're comfortable with those tools as well. And then we get to accounting. QuickBooks is one I love to hate as well. The biggest problem I have and the biggest issue is that since almost everybody uses QuickBooks, it's very difficult to get away from it. It has a lot of great features to it. It's to me, I think it's very expensive for what you get, and sometimes I feel that they're not keeping up with the times. But when it comes to like having a good cloud-based accounting software that's somewhat user-friendly, I think QuickBooks is kind of like the standard now. But I know a lot of small businesses use other online accounting tools. And then QuickBooks, certainly in terms of like, we use it in one of our projects for inventory management. And accountants love it too because most of them have QuickBooks. So usually you graduate up to QuickBooks, but there are other accounting inventory management software tools you can use. Xero is one. I've worked with that. It's really simple. And if you're a startup business, that's an easy one to go to. Wave is another one. I know a lot of folks now use Wave accounting, and the small business version is free, and it has some really good accounting functionalities, and you can actually get payroll services with Wave as well. And then Zoho is another one. So I haven't used Zoho, but based on the research I've done, it's one of the better accounting and inventory management software platforms out there as well. And I don't get paid by any of them, so I'm not recommending any of them. However, once again, I use QuickBooks a lot, but we've also, with some of our clients, we've used Wave and Xero. All right, and then getting out and reaching out and engaging with your customers. Certainly important to have some customer relationship management tools. In this instance, we've only used Salesforce, but these are some of the ones that have been recommended in terms of like some of the top sales of the customer relationship management tools, HubSpot and Zoho. And so once again, if you look at Zoho, they also have accounting software. So that can help you with some integration there. HubSpot, I know a few people use it and I haven't heard any bad things about it. There's also Salesforce Essential, which Salesforce can be very expensive, but it's very comprehensive and is very customizable. And once again, to me, a lot of times it gets a little it's probably a little too much for most small businesses. But once you start using it, it's hard to get away from it. And then fresh sales, which is one that's very user friendly, and it's incorporating some artificial intelligence in terms of like lead scoring and things like that. But also you have to remember too, and we'll talk a little bit about AI in this presentation, is that AI is only as good as what you put into it. And so certainly it's not the end all be all in terms of how do we going to operate in the future in terms of business. And I'll actually give you some examples there too. And then just as we start talking about a lot of those online tools, it's also okay to keep it very simple. And in some instances, I've used some very simple tools to track some very sophisticated processes and projects. And so we start with Microsoft Excel and Google Sheets, which are both of them are pretty much the same, just in terms of what you get out of them. And if you're not tech savvy, you can use them. If you have a little training, these are some extremely powerful tools, and they allow you the opportunity to not necessarily graduate to some of those more sophisticated tools down the road. And also, you can always use them without an internet connection, which is good because sometimes the internet can get spotty. We're not in a hotspot and we can still get our work done. And then the advantage is it's for simpler data management tasks, but also you can, if with a little training, you can also do some very sophisticated data management tasks, especially using multiple tabs. And I'm gonna give you an example. So I've developed what I call the nonprofit master plan workbook in Microsoft Excel. And probably a series of like 15 tabs. And I'm gonna give you some examples, and they're all integrated. So if you know a good Excel developer who can put some things together for you, it's probably a lot cheaper and a lot easier to do that than having some of the online tools. And so this tool that I created, the master plan tool for nonprofits, tracks a lot of the things that they need to report to funders without having some sophisticated online application or expensive online application like Salesforce. And so one of the things that most nonprofits want to do is track their development activities. How well are they raising money? And so we look at the top charts. The one on the left is the overall organizational budget, and then the next four are different program budgets. And so the blue is where they stay, is the budgeted amount, and the orange is how are you looking against budget. And so right there, just by adding the data, just simple numbers, this automatically updates and tell you with a clear visual snapshot where you are in terms of your development processes. And then at the pie charts, looking more at the funding distribution that was budgeted versus the funding distribution that they have coming year to date. And so once again, gives you a very clear snapshot of where you're lacking. And it seems like on the corporate side, they have a lot of work to do, but foundations are making up for some of that slack. And so as a tool, and this is a lot of things that you can do in your business, just having simple data analysis tools will help give you a really quick and clear snapshot of where you are in your business. And once again, nonprofits is using this as well. And once again, in business, you can set types of goals, but it works really well in nonprofits because nonprofits are almost forced to have goals and metrics and work towards those goals and metrics, whereas a lot of business owners don't really think about that. But it's really important too that you look at those. And so like the nonprofit that we were developing this out for, they do cohorts, and they look at their goals, and then they look at how they're performing against those goals. And with a simple programming, Excel will give you a column that says, have you met that goal yet? And if it's yes, the box is green and give you a green yes. If it's no, the box, as you can see under the workshop metrics, where they have not had enough participants, it's letting them know that their goal for workshops haven't been met. And so it's easy to look at this and say, hey, this is where area that we need to step up our game. But in the other areas, they're doing quite well. So using Excel and keeping it really simple can really help out. And once again, this is more on a little sophisticated side of Excel, but you can also make some very simple spreadsheets, or even have someone help you put together a spreadsheet to help you track the data that you're trying to track. And also, spreadsheets can easily be integrated into QuickBooks. A lot of the work that we do in QuickBooks, we start with an Excel spreadsheet, and then we just data map that right into QuickBooks. So it makes it very easy, very seamless. So if we're adding like 20 new vendors, because in some of our projects, we pay out a lot of new vendors every month. And it's like we just put all the information on a spreadsheet, and it just goes right into Excel with no issue, include me into QuickBooks with no issue, including all the payment data and things like that. So spreadsheets it's good to know how to operate and use spreadsheets, because they are still a precursor to some of the other work that you're doing, including like Salesforce. So you can use an Excel spreadsheet to map your contacts and data over there. So if you want to keep it simple now and upgrade later, use a spreadsheet, figure out like the best way to enter the data. And I always tell people, separate column for last name, separate column for first name, separate column for address, then separate column for city, separate column for state, separate column for zip code. And that data can usually be mapped into any program that allows you to use a spreadsheet or comma separated values to upload the data. And then we get to the one that we talked about, and was really about the staffing side. And the staffing, the question has always been, do I really need all these people? And one of the projects we have an investor. The company is really trying to establish itself. And so, one of our biggest expenses, are always people. And so the investors, every month I get the question is like, do you really need all these people? And the question is sometimes yes, there's a question sometimes no, right? But part of it is we have to, if it's no, we have to figure out like how are we going to get some of the work done. There are other ways to get the work done without necessarily having people, but we have to stop and think about that. And so one of the things that I always challenge small business owners on is to really think about this early on in the process. It's really cool hiring people, but people cost a lot of money. So if you have someone that you're paying, say $25 an hour, that's roughly $50,000 a year, and then you add more to fringe benefits and expenses, other expenses, that knocks it up to about $60,000 a year. So you think about it, like one full-time equivalent at $25 an hour can cost you $65,000 a year. And so, do I need that person, or can I find ways of using technology to like replace that person and not need that person as much? And so my step 5 in terms of leveraging technology and labor. So one of the things that we always know is that the fewer people you have and the more technology you have, you can increase your efficiency, right? So you can automate processes, so you need fewer people. Those processes are streamlined. That means it may not cost as much money to do that process. That increases your profitability. Cost savings, we just talked about that. It's a lot easier when you are not to be profitable when you don't have a ton of employees, but also operational efficiency. And I would tell you, and most people who have hired people, that a lot of times when you have a lot of people working, it tends sometimes the operations is not as efficient. So there are more people to hang out at the water cooler and the coffee shop, that's coffee station. There are more people to manage, and management becomes a bit of a nightmare for a small business owner, especially people management. But enhanced productivity, which in the manufacturing world is very important, because a lot of times a lot of manufacturing companies are working on very tight margins. And so you want to be able to get product through quicker so you can start the next run. And that's really important. But even if you are, say, a consultant, it's being able to have more real-time collaboration, not having to go to a bunch of meetings and spend time in the car is really important too. and accuracy. In most instances, when done correctly, technology is very accurate and reduces human error. However, there have been many occasions where if you don't set up the technology correctly, you're going to have it worse. And I'm going to talk about that uh, in a slide or two. 24/7 availability, right? So if you're, it's the old saying is like you want to make money in your sleep. So if you're selling online, that online store can be open all the time. And so if somebody has a notion that they want to order something at 3 in the morning, they don't have to wake you out of bed to place that order. They can go onto your online platform and order. So that makes it a lot easier for you as a business owner to be able to earn more money. And then being able to scale things up. Scalability is really important. We talked about that and I think my last presentation, we talked about scaling up businesses and using technology for that. Giving you a competitive advantage, it helps in terms of if you can do more innovative stuff and find ways. And it could be as simple as if you can make your product a lot cheaper, that could give you a competitive advantage because you're going with a lower price. But sometimes I always tell people pricing isn't that important. A lot of times, as long as you're competitively priced. So what you want to do is really look at it. It's like, how do you use that to increase your profitability, or can you use technology to create new product offerings? Then also the customer experience. There's ways that you can use technology to personalize the offerings that you send to your customers. And for me, it's very important to understand like what do our customers like, and it's always important to make sure that we feel that they aren't just a customer, but they are uh, really part of the processes that we operate. And so one of the things that I always tell people is that you have to approach the integration of technology thoughtfully and ethically, right? And so one of the things that like with our green metals foods, uh, even though we're not a social enterprise, we operate from more of a social cause. And so our social cause is really about employing people. And so what we have actually like not embraced technology there because it's more about employing people. But also, we found out that, and we'll talk about it later, that sometimes employing people is better than technology. And so just mentioned this earlier. And what about artificial intelligence? And I think this is just a new area especially for small business owners. And so I've been working with it just to kind of figure out like what's cool about it, what's not so cool about it, and how can I even incorporate this into some of the work that I do. So first of all, for those who don't know, what is AI? And it's really the theory and development of computer systems that can perform jobs and duties that normally require human intelligence. Now, for me, I think that, that's a good thing and it's not a not so great thing. Uh, Intelligence is one thing, but also just think like being empathetic, which AI can't do, and also being able to kind of think in the space that you're in, right? So even a lot of AI stuff can be very general, and sometimes it could be a lot more sophisticated than what you really want. And so one of the things that I always tell people is just don't take the human touch out of the things that you do. And AI has people doing that, and that's the part that I certainly don't like to see. And in one instance, I'll give you a quick example. In the workforce development program that we were developing out, one of the staff members decided to use AI to create resumes for a lot of the folks in the workforce development program. And most of these folks in the program haven't had jobs or had jobs that like, very manual labor, fast food restaurants and things like cleaning and things like that. And so reading a resume, and they started talking about how they performed on cross-functional teams and, were able to like, all these superfluous words that the person, when I asked them about it in their resume, they didn't even know what it stood for, what it meant. And so we can't use artificial intelligence to like go overboard in terms of how we work with people and how we do things. And so let's also remember that there's the human touch that's more important as well. But some of the popular AI apps, Chat GPT, which is one I use, but looking up others, Crayon, Zapier, and Seventh Sense, or others, Chat GPT is actually one of the most popular ones. They have a free version, and then they have a paid version, and the paid version actually gets you more. It's more sophisticated, but there's also a waiting list on it, and it costs like $20 a month. So it's so popular now that they have a waiting list. All right, so one example, and I always like to use real life examples, is now and then when I do workshops, I use AI to kind of generate what I want to do. So I first put in a, hey, I want to do a workshop on using technology to, improve the profitability of a small business. What do you got for me? And it came up with this like very sophisticated workshop, and I said, oh, that's not going to work. I don't think that's my audience. So you really have to think about your audience as well. And so I chose a new prompt. I said, give me a workshop description for using technology to enhance profitability, but the audience is not very tech savvy. Right. So part of it too is like you have to sometimes do more iterations of AI. So once again, AI can think, but it can't always think for you. It can give you stuff that you're asking for, but sometimes AI can be very literal. So this is what it came back with. The workshop title, Harnessing Technology for Increased Profitability, a Beginner's Guide. That is not my workshop title. I didn't use that. However, the workshop description actually very much fit what I wanted to talk about. And so once again, AI has its benefits, but you also have to think about how do you incorporate your audience and what you're doing into this AI programming, and then so you can use it as a starting point. So one of the things I like is that a lot of times I have so many things going on. It's like I need to be like I get writer's block, and it's like where do I start? And so for me, AI is a good starting point and say, hey, think about these things. And if you're going to do a workshop, here's some of the things that you want to cover. So that allows me to kind of like outline my workshop and then start adding my touch to it, which makes it a lot easier for me, but it also makes sure that it stays more in the personal touch. And then also outline a PowerPoint presentation for me. I didn't like it, so I did my own. Okay, and then technology can fail. So and this is where the Green Metals Foods, where I said, here's one example. So on the left is this very sophisticated $1 million auto bagging machine. And we have one in the organization, and we do beef jerky manufacturing. Beef jerky is very sticky, and it doesn't do well with automation. And so what we were finding is that some of the bags were perfectly sized. Some of them had too little product. Some of them have too much product. It just didn't work out well. And so we shut down the machine and sold it. And we went to a very simple hand packing process. And this hand packing process is much more efficient and much more cost effective than that expensive piece of equipment we had. And so now we're able to set up our hand pack lines, and we call them fast pack lines, because we've done the training, and people are able to get this done a lot quicker. And so when we were using automation, we had so many errors that we had to hire more people to unpack bags and repack, and it was costing us a lot of money. And now we had an error rate with that machine of about 15%, and some in worse instances 30%. And our error rate with the hand pack is only like 1%. And so for us, not only are we employing people, but we have a much more robust system that is actually using manual labor. And then I usually don't do this, but as I was putting together this presentation, and I thought about technology and technology failures, years ago I read this book, and it's actually a very easy read. And it's When Genius Fail, and it's about long-term capital management, and how all these geniuses was using technology to actually to develop these algorithms and to like beat the market. And they did a good job at one point. As you start reading the book, you realize what they did was they relied so much on technology that they never like really thought about what the human thought process was. And just like, this doesn't make sense on a human level, but a computer program doesn't necessarily understand that. And so it was a huge collapse. And it's actually a really, really good read. So I suggest that if you want to good book about like how technology can fail us, this is a very, very good book. And so I'm going to put that on your recommended reading list. All right. So then let's talk about some of the key takeaways here in terms of what we talked about today. And so for me, one of the key takeaways is that you really want to build and enhance your online presence. That's, to me, that's very critical. That if you want to operate, use technology, establishing an online presence, having a 24-hour store, and what are the other means that you have. And now people are also using AI for customer service, and I was like, be careful with that, but it's also a good thing. It's a way that you can use it to reduce the number of people that you have in your business. Then you want to implement basic business software. That to me is just so key. Like I said, you can easily start with something like Microsoft Excel. You can PowerPoint is good for presentations. I know people love Canva, but for me, I love PowerPoint. And then getting more sophisticated by looking more at like the customer relationship management tools, looking at project management tools, because as a business owner, you are going to be extremely busy. And so you want to make sure that a lot of the processes you have are not only automated, but there's also prompts to let you know when something should be done. Even if it's as simple as like, I need to follow up with a customer, you put that into the calendar, and bing, when it's time to do that follow-up, it's there. You put it in your project management software, we need to do X, Y, and Z by this date. You'll get those reminders. So that's important as well. And once again, a lot of it isn't about necessarily not having employees, but in many times you can't afford employees, or you can't find the right employees. And so it really is important that, like, when you're trying to connect with your customers and you're trying to do marketing, email marketing, you can set up an email campaign. You can go out to a bunch of people, and with the right words, many people will open those, and right subject matter line. A lot of people will open up those emails. I get a lot of junk email. I know it's junk email, but sometimes I'm tempted to open some of them because I'm like, the subject line is just so intriguing. And I have to remind myself that it's intriguing, but it's also trying to sell me something I probably don't need. And then using data for informed decisions, right? And so part of it is even financial data helps you make informed decisions. And so you also have to make sure that you put it in right. So I was working with one of our clients, and they were selling some products that they sell on the retail, food products that they sell in retail stores. And so I'm looking at their finances, and one of the most important things in the retail market is you need to know what your gross margins are. And they had a lot of the information that goes into their gross margin calculations and more into their their regular general expenses. And so they wouldn't know how much they're actually paying to produce a product. And so we have to revamp their data and revamp their chart of accounts to make sure that it was actually accounting for what they needed, the information they needed in their gross margins. And so then they were able to determine that they weren't making as much money as they thought they were. And so we have to start looking at how do we make the processes more efficient? Do we need to raise prices? How can we reduce the cost of goods? And so once again, the data is only good as like what you put into it and how you set it up to give you the information back. So really be careful with that. So it's not just about incorporating technology, it's incorporating those technology tools in the right way, which helps you make those informed decisions for your business. And then you really want to think about safeguarding your business from online threats. I didn't talk much about that because I think that could be a whole workshop within itself. But it's also important that, and I've seen this too many times where people get duped. People have tried me many times. Just 2 weeks ago, I received an email supposedly from one of our staff members saying, "Hey, I want to change my my direct deposit from the account that I have now to this green dot online card," which sounded kind of silly. And then I looked at where what the email address, it wasn't her email address, but all the other information was like it was from her. So one of the things that is really important is that technology can also hurt you. And so you have to be careful and look out for these online threats as well, because they can ruin your business. In a lot of instances, even some of the larger corporations have been held hostage by a lot of these cyber stalkers and people who are like holding them hostage for ransom, because they can get into their system. So be really careful about that. All right. And so if I leave you with some last parting words, it really is about everything that you do in your business. Look at ways to keep it as simple as possible, because if you keep it simple, then it makes it a lot easier for you to be more efficient. And then slowly but surely just incorporate technology tools as they help you, as they can help you grow your business. I think a lot of times some people want to think about when they start thinking about technology, they just want to just kind of throw everything in there and see what happens. But to me, it's just do it stepwise and start with something just as simple as an Excel spreadsheet, and then start working your way up to the CRM software and even that online accounting software. If you're going to start with online accounting software, start with something simple. Don't necessarily start with a full-blown expensive version of QuickBooks that's going to cost you $150 a month. Try the free version of Wave and see how that works for you. But once again, that data is only as good as what you put into it. So be very careful about that. Okay, so I encourage everyone to have a happy and safe holiday season, no matter how you celebrate the holidays, or even if you don't. This is we're embarking upon just numerous holidays, and I just hope everybody stays safe. If you have any like burning questions, you can always contact me at info@inurbanstrategies.com. Me or one of my staff members would be very happy to answer any questions that you may have. We also operate as a social enterprise, so just giving some advice for us doesn't cost you anything, and we're certainly not trying to sign on clients. So we just want to be able to help small business owners. All right, so we will open it up to everyone for questions, comments, and I'll take a quick look. Oh, okay. So there's one question: would it be possible to get more information on the 15 step for nonprofit you mentioned earlier? Yes. So just send an email over to info@inurbanstrategies.com. I'll be happy to share that with you. I do have a blank form that any nonprofit can use, and I can be more than happy to take you through it. Let's see. Oh, someone asked me if I would show step 5 again. I will quickly go back to step 5. And once again, this will be available on YouTube. Okay, so this is step 5. And so it's really, once again, labor is your biggest cost. So you want to make sure that, when you start looking at labor, that you actually figure out ways to make it much more efficient. Once again, I actually have positions that I would love to fill, but I can't. And so what we need to do is it's really important for us to be able to operate more efficiently until we find those people. And so there's another question that says, how do you determine what you should measure? That's a good question. That is a very good question. And the way you would do that is you have to figure out what's important to your business and what's important to you. And so for me, the first thing that I always want to measure is how much money I'm making, right? And that requires me to understand my processes and how much they cost. And so if you do that, it makes it a lot easier. But then secondly, you also, if you're in social media, you want to measure like, what is your success in social media? So if you're spending $200 a month boosting posts and things like that, and you're not getting any return on it, then you should be asking yourself, like, why am I spending that money? Or why am I not reaching the people who I want to reach? And so, so you have to look at it, it's like, to me, anytime that you spend money, there should be a measurement because that's an investment in your business, and you should look at a return on investment. So, so hopefully that answers the question. Let's see. Would I show the takeaways again? I certainly will. Oops, went a little too fast. All right. Wait 1 second.
It
All right.
doesn't look like you have any
Yeah.
more
All
questions.
right. Let me see. What did we pass on 15? I'm going down the questions. Um, which method would you use to reach customers? Once again, there's there you have to really look at what is your business. We use a lot of times what we do is in terms of like reaching some of the folks that we want to reach, especially in some of the nonprofit work we do. We actually use a lot of social media, but we also we boost our posts, we do advertising. But once again, you have to think about what is your business and how do you where is your audience, and that really is like the key point. It's like where does your audience hang out at? And if you know where they hang out at, then that's really the tools that you need to do to reach them. So if they're hanging out on Instagram, figure out an Instagram campaign. If they hang out a lot on Facebook, then figure out a campaign there. But it's really important that you know who your customers are and where and how you reach them and what and also like what stimulates them, right? Because if you know where they are but you don't say anything or do anything that like gets them to respond, then it's like worthless. So just think about that. You should have a and I talked about this a while ago, and this webinar should be online as well, and it's really about how do you reach customers. Okay, what approach would you use for cost analysis and planning menus? So Maurice, you should give me you should talk to me offline because I have we have a program that can help you with that. And part of it is really looking at, and I just say in general, what you want to be able to do is you want to have the more standardization that you can have in menus, the better it is. So the more like you can take some base recipes and build up on those base recipes are like the best way to do it because that way you're eliminating waste. And so to me, what happens in the restaurant and the catering business is that sometimes a lot of they want to offer too much stuff, and it just requires a lot of inputs and a lot of money, and product may spoil and product may go bad. So and then the other thing is never offer salads because they're like probably the most they go bad fast. But you have to, but it's just one of those things is that you have to be very careful about uh, having too much variety because that variety would cost a lot more money. All right. The other question is it hard to start a nonprofit company? It's easy to start a nonprofit, it's hard to maintain a nonprofit. Nonprofits, you really have to rely on donations. It's a lot of relationship building, and it could take a lot of time to build up on that. So people I talk to or look interested in starting a nonprofit, I tell them you need to find one rich champion and who really believes in your cause, who's going to fund it. And every startup nonprofit that I work with, they found someone who has a bunch of money, who believes in their cause, and seeded the money for them. So it's not too much different from starting a business. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Burks. Okay, I think I caught every question, but this is a good time if I didn't for someone to remind me or write the question again and I can catch up with it. I can answer it. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. So I don't see any other questions. And so once again, I thank everyone for joining the webinar. And once again, if you have any specific questions that you want to ask of me or my team, feel free to shoot us off an email at info@inurbanstrategies.com. And let's see here. Just want to make sure. Okay, so yeah, I think I have a question, everybody. All right, good. So I'll turn it back over to BACP, and I always thank BACP for allowing me to present. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you, Shelby, for your presentation. I hope everyone in attendance here today received some very valuable information. To find out about our upcoming webinars, please visit us at chicago.gov/business education. If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program and to receive credit for today's webinar, please log on to chicago.gov/BACP certificate. Again, that's chicago.gov/BACP certificate. And thank you again, Shelby, and everyone have a great weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.